Crash landing on forbidden waters. The attack in deep space. Captain Marcus Kane gripped the steering controls of his exploration vessel as laser fire lit up the darkness around him. The ship shook violently with each hit from the pirate cruisers that had ambushed his small research team near the edge of known space. Red warning lights flashed across his control panel while his communications officer shouted damage reports over the screaming alarms. "Captain, engines are failing," called Lieutenant Torres from her station. "We've lost main power and life support is dropping fast." Marcus cursed under his breath as he watched 3 more pirate ships close in from different angles. His vessel, the Star Wanderer, was built for exploration, not combat. They had no chance against this many attackers. Through the viewport, he could see the pirates' weapons charging for another devastating blast. "All crew to escape pods," Marcus ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. "This is not a drill. Abandon ship immediately." Falling through strange skies. The escape pod rocketed away from the dying Star Wanderer just as the pirates delivered their final attack. Marcus watched through the small window as his ship exploded in a brilliant flash of white light, taking with it 3 years of research data and all his personal belongings. The pod's emergency systems kicked in, scanning for the nearest habitable world. The small screen showed a blue-green planet below, covered mostly in vast oceans with only a few small land masses visible. The pod's computer indicated the atmosphere was breathable, but something seemed strange about the readings. The water appeared to glow with an inner light, and energy patterns danced beneath the surface like nothing he had ever seen before. "Warning, entering planetary atmosphere," the pod's automated voice announced. "Prepare for emergency water landing." Marcus strapped himself in tighter as the pod began to shake and heat up from atmospheric entry. Through the viewport, he watched the alien ocean rush up to meet him. The water sparkled with colors that shifted from deep blue to silver to green, as if the sea itself was alive. Strange formations that looked like underwater cities glowed in the depths, but that was impossible. The planet was supposed to be uninhabited according to all their star charts. Into the glowing waters. The impact with the ocean was jarring but not deadly. The pod's emergency systems had worked perfectly, keeping him safe as they plunged beneath the waves. Marcus expected the pod to surface quickly, but instead it continued sinking deeper and deeper into the glowing waters. The pressure readings on his instruments should have been crushing the small vessel, yet somehow the pod remained intact. As he descended, Marcus noticed that the water outside wasn't normal water at all. It moved with purpose, flowing in patterns that seemed almost intelligent. Schools of fish that glowed like living stars swam past his viewport, and in the distance, he could see massive structures that definitely looked like buildings or temples. "This is impossible," Marcus whispered to himself. "No civilization should exist this deep underwater." The pod settled gently on what appeared to be a coral bed, but the coral was unlike anything from Earth. It pulsed with soft light and seemed to reach toward the pod with curious tendrils. Marcus checked his air supply and found he had maybe an hour left before he would need to risk opening the pod's hatch. The water-bearer's rescue. As Marcus debated his next move, a figure appeared outside his viewport that made his heart skip a beat. It was humanoid but clearly not human. The being had pale blue skin that shimmered like moonlight on water, and long silver hair that floated around her like liquid mercury. Her eyes were the color of deep ocean pearls, and when she looked at him through the pod's window, he felt a strange warmth spread through his chest. She wore flowing robes that seemed to be made of living water itself, constantly shifting and changing color from aqua to silver to deep blue. Most impossibly, she was breathing the water as naturally as he breathed air, moving through it with graceful ease. The being placed her hand against the pod's outer hull, and Marcus felt a vibration run through the vessel. To his amazement, the emergency hatch began to open. He should have panicked as water rushed in, but instead of drowning, he found he could somehow breathe the strange liquid as if it were air. "Fear not, star-touched one," the being said, her voice musical and clear despite speaking underwater. "I am Lyralii, water-bearer of the Deep Palace. The ancient songs spoke of your coming." Marcus tried to speak but found that his voice worked differently in this environment. "How am I breathing? This should be impossible." Lyralii smiled, and her expression was both kind and mysterious. "You carry the blood of stars in your veins. The sacred waters recognize you as the one who was promised. Come, we must hurry. The deep ones grow restless, and my father's council will want to meet the one who fell from the sky." Deeper into mystery. As Lyralii helped Marcus from his damaged pod, he noticed that his body felt different in this underwater realm. He moved with surprising grace, and breathing the strange water felt natural, as if he had been designed for this environment. The woman's touch sent small sparks of energy through his skin, and he found himself drawn to her in a way he couldn't explain. "Where are you taking me?" Marcus asked as they swam away from the pod. Around them, the underwater landscape was breathtaking. Towers of living coral stretched toward the surface, and creatures that looked like jellyfish made of pure light drifted past like floating lanterns. "To the Crystal Palace," Lyralii replied, her silver hair trailing behind her as they swam. "My people have waited for generations for one like you to arrive. The prophecies speak of a man from the stars who will save our dying race." Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the water temperature. "Save your race? I'm just an explorer. I'm not anyone special." Lyralii turned to look at him, her pearl-colored eyes intense with emotion. "You are more special than you know, Marcus Kane. The waters have already accepted you. The bond has begun to form. Whether you understand it or not, you are now connected to our world and to me." As they swam deeper into the glowing ocean, Marcus realized that his old life as a simple ship captain was over. Whatever lay ahead in this underwater realm, there would be no easy way back to the surface. The alien woman beside him had saved his life, but she had also claimed it in ways he was only beginning to understand. The Crystal Palace appeared before them like something from a dream, its towers reaching both up toward the distant surface and down into the deepest trenches. And somewhere in those glowing halls, Marcus knew, his destiny was waiting for him to discover it. The Underwater Palace of Secrets. The Crystal Palace revealed. As Marcus and Lyralii approached the magnificent Crystal Palace, he felt his breath catch in his throat. The structure was unlike anything he had ever imagined, built from what appeared to be living crystal that pulsed with soft, rhythmic light. Towers spiraled upward like frozen waterspouts, while graceful bridges connected floating platforms that defied all laws of physics he understood. Schools of luminescent fish swam through archways and windows as if they were part of the palace's design. Gardens of coral in impossible colors grew along the walls, tended by beings similar to Lyralii who moved through the water with fluid grace. The entire structure hummed with a low, musical tone that seemed to resonate in Marcus's chest. "Your people built all this underwater?" Marcus asked, his voice filled with wonder as they swam through the main entrance. Lyralii nodded, her silver hair catching the light from the crystal walls. "My ancestors shaped this palace from the living reef over thousands of years. Each generation added new chambers, new beauty. But now," her voice grew sad, "we may be the last to see it in its full glory." Meeting the Council of Elders. Inside the palace, Marcus was amazed to discover air-filled chambers alongside the water-filled corridors. Lyralii explained that her people could live in both environments, though they preferred the embrace of the sacred waters. She led him to a vast circular chamber where 7 elderly Aquarians sat in a semicircle, their skin bearing intricate patterns that glowed softly in the dim light. The eldest among them, a woman with hair like flowing seaweed and eyes that held the wisdom of ages, rose to greet them. "I am Elder Naya," she said, her voice carrying the weight of authority. "We have been expecting you, Star-Touched One." Marcus shifted uncomfortably under their intense gazes. "Please, call me Marcus. And I think there's been some mistake. I'm just a ship captain who got lucky enough to survive a crash landing." Elder Naya exchanged glances with the other council members before speaking. "There are no mistakes in the flow of destiny, young human. Show him, Lyralii. Show him the prophecy stones. The ancient prophecy." Lyralii guided Marcus to the center of the chamber, where a series of crystalline tablets rose from the floor. As she touched each one, they began to glow and project images into the water around them. Marcus watched in amazement as the story unfolded before his eyes like a three-dimensional movie. The images showed the early days of the Aquarian civilization, when they lived in harmony with the ocean and could travel freely between the surface and the depths. But then came a great catastrophe, a curse that began to steal their ability to reproduce and slowly poison their life force. "Long ago, we angered the Deep Ones," Elder Naya explained as the images continued to play. "Ancient beings that slumber in the deepest trenches. In our pride, we tried to harness powers that were not meant for us. As punishment, they cursed our bloodline." The prophecy stones showed scenes of Aquarian children growing weaker with each generation, their numbers dwindling as families could no longer bring new life into the world. But the final image made Marcus's heart race. It showed a figure falling from the stars, a human with the power to break the curse through a sacred bonding with an Aquarian princess. The truth about the bond. You're saying I can somehow cure this curse? Marcus asked, though part of him already suspected what the answer would be. Lyralii stepped closer to him, her pearl-colored eyes intense with hope and something deeper. The prophecy speaks of a joining of two worlds, two souls becoming one. The human must willingly bond with one of royal blood, sharing life force to break the ancient curse. And you're this royal blood? Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. I am the last princess of the Deep Palace, Lyralii confirmed. My 3 sisters have already fallen to the curse. If I fail to bond with the star-touched one before the next lunar tide, our people will begin dying in great numbers. Elder Naya moved closer, her ancient eyes studying Marcus carefully. But the bond cannot be forced. It must be chosen freely by both parties. Love must exist, or the ritual will fail and both participants will be lost to the depths forever. Disturbing communications. As Marcus tried to process this overwhelming information, an urgent sound echoed through the crystal chamber. One of the younger Aquarians swam in quickly, carrying what appeared to be a communication device made of living coral. Princess Lyralii, the messenger gasped, we're receiving transmissions from the surface. Human ships are approaching our world. They're looking for someone called Captain Marcus Kane. Marcus felt his stomach drop. That's me. It's probably Admiral Theron leading a rescue mission. Lyralii turned to him, her expression suddenly worried. Will they take you away from us? Before Marcus could answer, the coral communicator crackled to life with a familiar voice. This is General Victor Cross of the Human Space Fleet. We know you're down there, Marcus. Admiral Theron has authorized a full recovery operation. We're not leaving without you. The voice of his old friend Victor brought back memories of his life among the stars, of duties and responsibilities he had left behind. But as he looked at Lyralii's face, saw the hope and growing affection in her eyes, he felt torn between two worlds. The growing connection. That evening, Lyralii showed Marcus to chambers that had been prepared for him. The room was beautiful, with walls of translucent crystal that showed the ocean life swimming outside. A current of warm water flowed through one side of the room, while the other side was filled with breathable atmosphere. You can choose either environment, Lyralii explained. The room will adapt to your needs. As they stood together in the gentle current, Marcus found himself studying her face in the soft light. There was something about her that drew him in ways he couldn't explain. When she had first touched him, he had felt a spark of connection that went beyond the physical. Lyralii, he said softly, this bonding ritual you mentioned. What exactly does it involve? She looked down, a soft blush coloring her blue cheeks. It is both spiritual and physical. Our life forces would merge, our souls would touch. We would become two halves of the same being, able to share thoughts and feelings across any distance. And if I choose not to go through with it? Pain flashed across her features. Then my people will slowly fade away, and I will spend my remaining years knowing I was the one who failed to save them. Marcus reached out and gently touched her face, feeling the smooth coolness of her skin. That's not fair to put that responsibility on me. I barely know you, barely understand your world. I know, Lyralii whispered. But the heart does not follow the mind's schedule. I find myself drawn to you in ways the prophecies never described. When I look at you, I see not just our salvation, but someone I could truly care for. A choice approaching. As the days passed, Marcus found himself growing more comfortable in the underwater palace. He learned to navigate the flowing corridors, to communicate with the other Aquarians, and to understand their culture. More importantly, he found himself spending every possible moment with Lyralii. She showed him the palace gardens where bioluminescent plants created stunning displays of color. They swam together through ancient ruins that told the story of her people's glory days. In quiet moments, they would float together in the sacred pools, talking about their different worlds and dreams. But always hanging over them was the approaching deadline and the presence of the human fleet above. General Victor Cross sent daily messages, each one more urgent than the last. Admiral Theron was losing patience, and there were hints that they might take more aggressive action if Marcus didn't respond soon. They're my people, Marcus told Lyralii one evening as they watched the distant lights of the human ships through the palace's crystal dome. I've served with some of those men for years. They risked their lives to come looking for me. I understand, Lyralii replied, though her voice was heavy with sadness. You have loyalties that existed long before you met me. I cannot ask you to abandon everything you once were. But even as she spoke those words, Marcus could feel the bond between them growing stronger. When she was near, he felt complete in a way he had never experienced. When they were apart, even for a few hours, he found himself missing her with an intensity that surprised him. The choice was coming whether he was ready or not. And with each passing day, Marcus realized that whatever decision he made would change not just his life, but the fate of an entire civilization. The Curse of the Deep Ones. The Forbidden Archives. Elder Naya led Marcus and Lyralii through corridors he had never seen before, deeper into the palace than he thought possible. The water here was darker, older, and seemed to whisper with ancient voices. Bioluminescent symbols carved into the walls told stories of power and tragedy that made Marcus's skin crawl. The full truth of our curse lies here, Elder Naya explained as they entered a vast circular chamber. The prophecy stones showed you only what you needed to know to accept our plight. But if you are to truly understand what the bonding ritual requires, you must see the complete history. The chamber was filled with massive crystal formations that pulsed with deep, red light. Unlike the welcoming glow of the upper palace, these crystals felt dangerous, containing memories that had been sealed away for good reason. As Elder Naya touched the central formation, images began to form in the water around them. Marcus watched in growing horror as the true story unfolded. The ancient Aquarians had not simply angered the Deep Ones through pride, they had attempted to steal the power of life and death itself. In their quest for immortality, they had invaded the deepest trenches where primordial beings slumbered, beings older than the planet itself. We thought ourselves clever, Elder Naya said sadly. We believed we could take their power and use it to perfect our race. Instead, we awakened something that should have remained sleeping forever. The price of ancient power. The crystal memories showed the aftermath of the Aquarians' failed theft. The Deep Ones had risen from their slumber, creatures of such alien horror that the crystal formations could barely contain their images. They had spoken a curse in voices that shook the very foundations of the ocean, condemning the Aquarians to watch their bloodline slowly die. But the curse had a specific condition: it could only be broken by a willing sacrifice from another world, someone who would give up their original nature to become one with the Aquarian people. The catch was that this transformation would be permanent and irreversible. You're telling me, Marcus said slowly, that if I go through with this bonding ritual, I can never return to being fully human. Lyralii's face went pale. Elder Naya, you said the bonding would save our people. You never mentioned that Marcus would lose his humanity. The ancient woman's expression was grave. Because I feared he would refuse if he knew the complete price. The star-touched one must willingly become one of us, in body as well as spirit. His human form will be preserved, but his essence will be forever changed. Marcus felt the weight of this revelation like a physical blow. Not only would he be giving up his life among the stars, he would be giving up his very identity as a human being. The choice had just become infinitely more difficult. The Rivals' Challenge. As they absorbed this shocking news, a commotion echoed through the chamber. A group of Aquarian guards swam in quickly, escorting a tall, imposing figure that Marcus had not seen before. The newcomer had the same blue-tinted skin as Lyralii, but his was marked with intricate silver tattoos that indicated high rank and royal blood. Prince Darius, Lyralii said, her voice tight with surprise and worry. You were supposed to be leading the defense of the outer territories. Prince Darius moved through the water with predatory grace, his dark eyes fixed on Marcus with obvious hostility. I received word that my betrothed was entertaining a human in the sacred chambers. I came to see for myself if the rumors were true. Marcus felt a surge of jealousy and protectiveness. Betrothed. An arrangement made by our families before the curse grew strong, Lyralii explained quickly. But the prophecy supersedes all previous contracts. Darius knows this. Prince Darius laughed, a sound like grinding coral. The prophecy speaks of worthiness, princess. This human has done nothing to prove he deserves the honor of bonding with royal blood. I challenge his right to attempt the ritual. Elder Naya stepped between them. Prince Darius, the ancient laws are clear. The star-touched one must be allowed to choose freely. And he will choose, Darius replied, his hand moving to the ceremonial weapon at his side. After I prove that he is unworthy of our princess and our people's salvation. I invoke the right of trial by combat. The Depth Warrior's Test. Marcus had never heard of trial by combat among the Aquarians, but the reaction of everyone in the chamber told him it was serious and binding. Elder Naya looked troubled, while Lyralii appeared genuinely frightened. The trial by combat is an ancient law, she whispered to Marcus. If Prince Darius defeats you, he gains the right to attempt the bonding ritual in your place. But Darius has trained as a depth warrior since childhood. He can fight in the crushing pressures of the deep ocean where humans cannot survive. And if I refuse the challenge? Prince Darius sneered. Then you prove your cowardice and forfeit any claim to the princess. The ritual cannot be performed with one who lacks courage. Marcus looked around at the gathered Aquarians. He could see respect and hope in some faces, doubt and skepticism in others. Everything he had learned about their culture suggested that backing down from this challenge would indeed end any possibility of completing the bonding ritual. I accept your challenge, Marcus said, surprising himself with the steadiness of his voice. But I'm not familiar with your combat traditions. What are the rules? Prince Darius smiled coldly. We fight in the abyssal arena, where the pressure would crush any normal human instantly. We use traditional weapons of our people. The combat continues until one yields or dies. Unexpected messages from above. Before the challenge could be formalized, another urgent interruption came as messenger brought news from the surface. The human fleet had moved closer to the planet, and their communications were becoming more aggressive. This is Admiral Theron speaking directly to Captain Marcus Kane, the transmission crackled through the coral communicators. You have 48 hours to respond to our signals or we will assume you are being held against your will. We are prepared to take whatever action necessary to retrieve you. The message sent a chill through the assembled Aquarians. Their defensive capabilities were limited, designed more for protection against deep-sea predators than spacefaring warships. Your people threaten us, Prince Darius said accusingly. Perhaps this is all an elaborate trap to weaken our defenses before invasion. That's not true, Marcus protested. Admiral Theron is just worried about me. If I could contact him, explain the situation. No, Elder Naya said firmly. Contact with the surface world is forbidden until the ritual is complete. To reveal our existence to your military would bring disaster upon both our peoples. Marcus realized he was trapped between two impossible situations. Above, his own people were preparing for what they might see as a rescue mission. Below, he was being forced into combat with a trained warrior to prove his worthiness for a bonding ritual that would permanently change his very nature. The growing bond. That night, as preparations for the trial began, Lyralii came to Marcus's chambers. She moved through the water slowly, her usual grace subdued by worry and guilt. I should have told you about Prince Darius, she said softly. About the engagement, about the true cost of the bonding ritual. You had the right to know everything from the beginning. Marcus took her hands in his, feeling the familiar spark of connection that seemed to grow stronger each time they touched. Are you in love with him? No, she replied without hesitation. The engagement was political, meant to unite two powerful families. I have known Darius since childhood, but I have never felt for him what I. She paused, looking into Marcus's eyes. What I feel when I am with you. And what do you feel? Lyralii moved closer, her body warm against his in the flowing water. Like I have found the missing piece of my soul. When you touch me, I can sense your thoughts, your emotions. The bond has already begun forming, even without the ritual. That is not supposed to happen unless... Unless what? Unless we are truly meant for each other. Unless the prophecy chose correctly, and our hearts have recognized what our minds are still learning. Marcus pulled her close, feeling the truth of her words in the way their heartbeats synchronized when they embraced. Whatever happened in the trial tomorrow, whatever choice he ultimately made about the bonding ritual, he could no longer deny that his feelings for Lyralii had grown far beyond simple attraction. But as they held each other in the gentle current of his chambers, both knew that love alone might not be enough to overcome the challenges ahead. The trial would test more than just his combat skills, it would determine whether he had the strength to claim a destiny that would change him forever. Battle for Two Worlds. The Abyssal Arena. The Abyssal Arena lay in the deepest part of the Crystal Palace, where the pressure should have been impossible for any human to survive. As Marcus descended with the ceremonial guards, he felt the water around him growing thicker, more crushing with each meter. Yet somehow, his body adapted, drawing strength from the strange bond that connected him to Lyralii and her world. The arena itself was a massive circular chamber carved from black volcanic rock. Ancient runes glowed along the walls, pulsing with the rhythm of the deep ocean currents. Hundreds of Aquarians had gathered to witness the trial, their bioluminescent markings creating a constellation of lights in the dark water. Prince Darius was already waiting, his powerful form enhanced by ceremonial armor made from the scales of deep-sea leviathans. In his hands, he carried a trident that sparked with bioelectric energy. Marcus had been given similar armor and a traditional Aquarian blade that hummed with power, but he felt clumsy and unprepared compared to his opponent. "This is your last chance to withdraw," Prince Darius called out, his voice carrying clearly through the water. "Admit that you are unworthy, and I will allow you to return to your people with honor." Marcus looked up at the viewing platform where Lyralii watched with obvious fear and Elder Naya observed with ancient, knowing eyes. "I'm not backing down," he replied. "Your people deserve to be saved, and I intend to be the one who saves them." Combat in the depths. The battle began with explosive violence. Prince Darius moved through the water like a living torpedo, his trident crackling with energy as he thrust it toward Marcus's chest. Marcus barely managed to deflect the attack with his blade, the impact sending shock waves through the arena. Darius was faster, stronger, and infinitely more skilled in underwater combat. He used the three-dimensional nature of their environment to attack from impossible angles, spiraling around Marcus like a predatory shark. Each strike of his trident left trails of bioelectric fire in the water. But Marcus had advantages that Prince Darius hadn't expected. His human training in zero-gravity combat translated surprisingly well to the underwater environment. More importantly, every time he began to tire or falter, he felt strength flowing into him from somewhere else, from Lyralii, who watched from above with her hands pressed to her heart. "You fight well for a surface dweller," Prince Darius acknowledged as they circled each other after several minutes of intense combat. "But you are still just human. Watch as I call upon the power of the depths." Prince Darius began to glow with an inner light, his tattoos blazing as he channeled the ancient powers of his bloodline. He grew larger, more imposing, his movements becoming supernaturally fast. His next attack came like a bolt of lightning, impossible to track or avoid. The bond's true power. Marcus felt the trident pierce his side, sending waves of pain through his body. As he began to sink toward the arena floor, he heard Lyralii cry out above him. In that moment of crisis, something extraordinary happened, the growing bond between them suddenly flared to full strength. Warmth flooded through Marcus's body as he felt Lyralii's life force merging with his own. Her strength became his strength, her knowledge of Aquarian combat techniques flowing into his mind. When he rose from the arena floor, his wounds were already healing, and his eyes blazed with the same inner light that marked the royal bloodline. "Impossible," Prince Darius breathed. "The bonding ritual has not been performed. How can you channel our ancestral power?" "Because the bond chooses its own time," Elder Naya called from the viewing platform, her ancient voice filled with wonder. "The prophecy has begun to fulfill itself. Marcus Kane is no longer fully human, he is becoming something new." The battle resumed, but now Marcus fought as an equal. The Aquarian combat knowledge flowing through the bond allowed him to match Prince Darius move for move. More than that, his human creativity and adaptability gave him advantages that traditional Aquarian warriors lacked. Invasion from above. Just as Marcus managed to disarm Prince Darius and hold his blade to the prince's throat, a thunderous crash echoed through the arena. Emergency alarms began to sound throughout the palace as messenger guards swam in with desperate news. "The human fleet has begun bombardment," one of them shouted. "They're using some kind of sonic weapons to collapse the outer defensive barriers. Colonel James Mitchell is leading dropships toward the palace itself." The arena erupted in chaos as Aquarians prepared for battle. Marcus felt torn between completing the trial and rushing to prevent a war between his two peoples. Before he could decide, Prince Darius grabbed his arm. "Your people attack while we are distracted by ceremony," the prince accused. "This trial ends nothing if your warriors destroy us all." "That's not what I wanted," Marcus protested. "Admiral Theron must think I'm being held prisoner. If I could just contact them." Elder Naya swam down from the viewing platform, her expression grim. "The time for choices has come sooner than expected. Marcus Kane, will you complete the bonding ritual now, before the battle reaches the palace? Or will you go to your people and leave us to face our fate alone?" The ritual begins. Lyralii descended from the viewing platform, her face pale but determined. The ritual can be performed here, in the sacred arena. The conditions are not ideal, but the power of this place will serve. Marcus looked around at the gathered Aquarians, many of whom were already swimming away to join the battle above. Prince Darius stood beside them, his hostility replaced by grudging respect after their combat. If you do this, Prince Darius said quietly, you save our people, but you lose your own forever. Your human fleet will see your transformation as betrayal or alien influence. You will belong fully to neither world. And if I don't do it, then we all die, Lyralii said simply. The curse will complete its work within days, and your people's attack will finish what the Deep Ones began. The sounds of battle grew closer. Through the arena's crystal walls, Marcus could see the lights of human dropships approaching the palace. Soon, Colonel Mitchell and his Marines would break through the palace defenses, and the conflict would become impossible to stop. Marcus took Lyralii's hands, feeling the bond between them pulse with warmth and power. What do I need to do? The sacred transformation. Elder Naya began chanting in the ancient Aquarian language as Marcus and Lyralii moved to the center of the arena. The water around them began to glow, responding to the ritual words that had not been spoken in generations. The bonding requires complete trust, Lyralii explained as energy swirled around them. You must open your mind completely to mine, allow our life forces to merge without reservation. If you hold back any part of yourself, the ritual will fail. Marcus nodded, closing his eyes and reaching out with his consciousness toward Lyralii. The sensation was unlike anything he had ever experienced, like diving into an ocean of memories, emotions, and thoughts that belonged to another person. He felt her childhood fears, her dreams for her people's future, her growing love for him. In return, he shared everything, his loneliness among the stars, his dedication to exploration and discovery, his wonder at finding a place where he truly belonged. As their minds touched and merged, their bodies began to change as well. Marcus felt his human DNA rewriting itself, accepting Aquarian modifications that would allow him to survive permanently in this underwater world. Gills opened along his neck, his skin took on a faint blue tint, and his eyes began to glow with bioluminescent patterns. But he was not becoming fully Aquarian, he was becoming something new, a bridge between two species that retained the best qualities of both. The moment of choice. Just as the bonding ritual reached its climax, human soldiers burst into the arena chamber. Colonel James Mitchell led a squad of Marines in deep-sea combat suits, their weapons trained on the gathered Aquarians. Stand down. Mitchell shouted through his suit speakers. Captain Kane, step away from the hostiles immediately. Marcus opened his eyes, still glowing with the energy of the incomplete ritual. His partially transformed appearance made several Marines raise their weapons higher. He realized that from their perspective, he looked like he was being attacked or altered against his will. Colonel Mitchell, Marcus called out, his voice carrying new harmonics that resonated through the water. These people aren't hostiles. They're refugees. They saved my life. Sir, you appear to be under some kind of alien influence, Mitchell replied. We're here to extract you and neutralize any threats to human interests. The only threat here is misunderstanding, Marcus said, stepping protectively in front of Lyralii. These people are dying from an ancient curse. They need our help, not our weapons. Prince Darius moved to Marcus's side, surprising everyone. The human speaks truth, Colonel. We seek alliance, not war. Your captain has proven his honor in trial by combat. The standoff stretched taut as both sides waited for someone to make the first move. Marcus realized that everything, the survival of the Aquarian people, the completion of the bonding ritual, the prevention of a war, depended on what happened in the next few moments. Above them all, the ocean itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see if two species could choose cooperation over conflict, love over fear, and hope over the weight of ancient curses. The choice that changes everything. The final confrontation. Admiral Theron himself descended into the arena chamber, his deep-sea suit gleaming with military authority. His weathered face was visible through the helmet's transparent aluminum, and Marcus could see the mixture of relief and concern in his old mentor's eyes. Marcus, the Admiral said, his voice carrying through the water via the suit's communication system. What have they done to you? Your appearance, your bio-readings are showing impossible changes. Marcus floated between two worlds, literally and figuratively. His partial transformation was visible to everyone, the blue tint to his skin, the gills along his neck, the bioluminescent patterns that pulsed with his heartbeat. To the humans, he looked like a victim of alien experimentation. To the Aquarians, he looked like their salvation hanging in the balance. "They haven't done anything to me that I didn't choose," Marcus replied, his voice now carrying the harmonic undertones of Aquarian speech. "Admiral, I need you to listen. These people are not enemies. They're the last survivors of an ancient civilization, and they're dying." Admiral Theron's expression hardened. "Son, I've seen what alien influence can do to the human mind. You're not thinking clearly. We're taking you home for medical evaluation and debriefing." Elder Naya stepped forward, her ancient dignity commanding respect even from the armed humans. "Admiral Theron, your Captain Kane speaks truth. We have shown him only knowledge, offered only alliance. The choice to bond with our people was freely made. The weight of command. Bond." Admiral Theron's voice sharpened with alarm. "What kind of bond? What have you done to one of my officers?" Lyralii moved to Marcus's side, her hand finding his. The gesture was unmistakably intimate, and Marcus saw understanding dawn in the Admiral's eyes. "The bonding ritual is how our peoples once allied," she explained. "It creates understanding between species, allows cooperation that benefits both civilizations. Or it's alien mind control designed to create human collaborators," Colonel Mitchell interjected, his weapon still trained on the Aquarians. "Sir, I recommend immediate extraction. Whatever they've done to Captain Kane, our medical team can reverse it." Marcus felt the incomplete bond pulsing between him and Lyralii, could sense her fear that everything they'd worked for was about to be destroyed by misunderstanding and military paranoia. The Aquarian curse was still active. Without completing the ritual, her people would begin dying within hours. "Admiral," Marcus said, drawing on every ounce of respect and authority he'd earned over years of service. "I'm requesting permission to complete a diplomatic mission of critical importance to both our species." Admiral Theron studied him carefully. "Explain." The truth revealed. Marcus gestured to Elder Naya, who activated the prophecy stones. The crystal formations projected the full history of the Aquarian people into the water around them, their ancient glory, the catastrophic mistake that led to their curse, and the prophecy that had brought Marcus to their world. The human soldiers watched in amazement as the three-dimensional images told the story of a civilization that had once spanned multiple star systems, whose knowledge of biotechnology and ocean sciences far exceeded human understanding. They saw the curse taking hold, watched families slowly dwindle as each generation grew weaker. "They were our allies once," Marcus explained as the projections continued. "Before Earth fell into its isolationist period, before we forgot that there were other intelligent species in the galaxy who shared our values." Admiral Theron remained silent as the images showed the potential future, Aquarian cities rising from the oceans of dozens of worlds, human and Aquarian ships exploring the galaxy together, technologies and knowledge shared for the benefit of both species. "And all of this depends on you sacrificing your humanity?" the Admiral asked quietly. Marcus looked at Lyralii, saw the love and hope in her pearl-colored eyes. "I'm not sacrificing my humanity, sir. I'm expanding it." Prince Darius's redemption. Unexpectedly, Prince Darius swam forward, his ceremonial armor still bearing marks from their combat. "Admiral Theron, I was prepared to claim the bonding right myself through trial by combat. But your Captain Kane defeated me fairly, and more than that, he showed mercy when he could have claimed victory through my death." "You fought one of their warriors?" Admiral Theron asked, his military mind immediately assessing the implications. "I did what I had to do to prove my worthiness," Marcus replied. "But more importantly, I learned that this isn't about conquest or submission. It's about choice, the choice to help when help is needed, to build bridges instead of walls." Prince Darius nodded respectfully to Marcus. "He could have killed me in the arena, but instead he offered honor and alliance. This is not the action of someone under alien control. This is the action of someone who understands what true strength means." The moment of decision. Suddenly, the water around them began to darken. Emergency bioluminescent warnings flashed along the palace walls as a deep, rumbling sound echoed through the ocean. Elder Naya's face went pale with terror. "The Deep Ones," she whispered. "They sense the bonding ritual has begun but not completed. They're rising from the trenches to ensure the curse remains unbroken." Through the crystal walls of the arena, Everyone could see massive shadows moving in the deepest waters. Things older than civilization itself, awakening to protect the ancient punishment they had imposed on the Aquarians. If we don't complete the ritual now, Lyralii said urgently, the Deep Ones will not only ensure our people's extinction, they'll destroy anyone who tried to help us. Your ships, your people, all of us. Admiral Theron looked from the approaching shadows to Marcus, then to the assembled Aquarians who watched with desperate hope. The career military officer was being asked to trust in prophecies and alien bonding rituals, to risk one of his best officers on the word of people he'd met moments ago. How long will this ritual take? He asked finally. Minutes, Elder Naya replied. But it must be completed willingly, with full understanding of the consequences. Admiral Theron was quiet for a long moment, studying Marcus's transformed features, weighing duty against possibility. Finally, he spoke. Marcus, if you do this, there's no coming back. The biomedical changes alone will mean you can never fully return to human society. Are you absolutely certain this is what you want? The bonding completed. Marcus took Lyralii's hands, feeling the incomplete bond between them pulsing with warmth and potential. Around them, the Deep Ones continued to rise, their alien presence making reality itself feel unstable. I've spent my whole career exploring new worlds, Admiral, Marcus said. I never expected to find one where I truly belonged. But that's what I've found here, not just a people who need saving, but a place where I can become more than I ever was alone. Admiral Theron nodded slowly. Then complete your mission, Captain. And may God help us all. Elder Naya resumed the bonding chant as Marcus and Lyralii moved back to the center of the arena. This time, there was no hesitation, no holding back. Marcus opened his mind completely to Lyralii's, feeling their consciousness merge in a rush of shared memories, emotions, and dreams. The transformation accelerated, rewriting his genetic structure while preserving everything that made him Marcus Kane. When the light faded, he stood changed but still himself, a bridge between two species, carrying the best of both worlds within his modified form. The moment the bonding completed, a wave of energy pulsed outward from the arena. Throughout the ocean, Aquarian cities began to glow with renewed life. In the stasis chambers, the dying began to heal. The ancient curse, finally broken by willing sacrifice and true love, released its grip on an entire civilization. The New Alliance. In the depths below, the Deep Ones felt the curse's completion and slowly returned to their slumber, their ancient purpose fulfilled. The shadows retreated to the deepest trenches, leaving the ocean bright with bioluminescent celebration. Admiral Theron removed his helmet, finding that the arena's atmosphere had been modified to support human breathing. I've never seen anything like that, he admitted. The energy readings, the biological changes, it's like watching evolution in fast forward. Marcus smiled, his new appearance marking him as something unprecedented, human and Aquarian, explorer and protector, bridge between worlds. Admiral, I'd like to request a new assignment. Ambassador to the Aquarian people. Granted, Admiral Theron replied immediately. Though I suspect you'll be writing the protocols for that position yourself. Prince Darius approached, no longer a rival but an ally. Captain Kane, the Aquarian defense fleet would be honored to serve alongside human ships in exploring the galaxy. There are other worlds that need protection, other species that could benefit from our alliance. Love across the stars. As the immediate crisis passed and diplomats from both species began planning their shared future, Marcus and Lyralii found a quiet moment together on the palace's highest balcony. The human fleet floated peacefully above them while Aquarian cities sparkled in the depths below. Do you regret it? Lyralii asked softly, her hand intertwined with his. Giving up your old life for this uncertain future? Marcus pulled her close, marveling at how perfectly they fit together now that their life forces were merged. I didn't give up anything, he said. I gained everything I never knew I was missing. Through their bond, he could feel her joy, her love, and her dreams for the future they would build together. In return, she felt his certainty, his peace with the choice he'd made, and his excitement for the adventures ahead. Above them, the stars shone through the ocean, visible now that the curse no longer clouded the waters. Each point of light represented a potential destination for the combined human-Aquarian exploration fleets, worlds where their alliance could bring hope to other struggling civilizations. Marcus Kane had crash-landed on an alien world as a simple ship captain. He was leaving it as something far more precious, proof that love could bridge any distance, overcome any difference, and create possibilities that neither species could have imagined alone. And in the depths of space, where new adventures waited among infinite stars, their story was just beginning.